What's up, it's Alpha Wolf with Wolfpack Gaming. I've got some infographics which will show you exactly where you can farm for specific Hawkeye gear. I also want to take a minute to give a shout out to Tony Bing for sharing these infographics with me so I can in turn share them with you. If you want to check out Tony's channel, you can find him at Tony Bing Gaming or check the description below for a link directly to his channel. First, we'll be taking a look at the elite vaults and the gear you can farm from them. I also want to mention that the stats for all of this gear is locked to the specific slot, so every slot 1 will have the same stat types listed for every drop, as will slot 2 and so on. So beginning with the vault melee weapon, you'll get Hawk's Talon, which will roll with might and proficiency on it. It'll come with 3 perks, the first being Archer's Cunning, which will have status damage type from melee gear is applied to intrinsic attacks, meaning that your status damage that is for your melee, such as Gamma, will then apply to something like your Boomerang Arrow or the Swordsman's Prodigy attack. The next is a variable effect, which will cause status damage on your melee attack, and then the third perk will be random. For ranged, you'll have the Hawk Arrowhead. It'll roll with proficiency and precision. It'll come with 3 perks as well. All of these will. It'll come with Hunter's Talent, which is a 20% increase in firing speed of cluster arrows and the charging speed of tripwire. The second one is also a variable effect, which is status damage on a ranged attack. And then the third is a random. Moving on to the defense gear, we have Hawk's Armor, which will roll with Intensity, Resilience, and Resolve. It'll come with the perks Recovery Invigorator, increases the amount of willpower recovered with Recovery Arrow and Nanite Shield damage reduction by 20%. Untouchable Shield grants Nanite Shield for a brief duration after defeating enemies with Boomerang Arrow, Swordsman Prodigy, or when dodging an attack. Nanite Shield will actually negate the damage, and then Recovery Invigorator will then give you a 20% damage reduction on top of that for a brief period of time. The third perk is again random. Finally, we have our heroic gear, which is Hawk's Bow. It'll roll with proficiency and might. It'll come with the perks Hunter Overcharge. Activating Hunter's Arrow instantly boosts the overcharge meter. Locked on is triggered when fully overcharged. You'll also get an extra Nightstorm Arrow Charge as the second perk. Not sure what the name of that is called right now. But then you'll also get a random perk for your third drop. Moving on to the Elite Villain Sector bosses, we have the Melee as Ranger's Sword. It'll drop with Might and Proficiency. It'll have a variable effect for status effect on melee attack times 2. You'll get 2 of those perks. And then the third perk will be random. For your ranged, you'll get Ranger's Arrowheads, which will drop with Precision and Proficiency. Same thing as the Melee, it'll have 2 variable effects on it for ranged attacks. And then the third perk will be random. Moving on to defense, you'll have Ranger's Armor, which will drop with Intensity, Resilience, and Resolve. You'll get Locked On Resistance, 10% damage reduction while Locked On is active. You'll also get a % chance to automatically activate Nanite Shield when taking damage, completely negating the attack. And then the third perk is random. And finally, we have the heroic gear, which is Ranger's Bow. It'll drop with proficiency and might, and you'll get the perks Locked On Breaker, 20% increase in damage and impact while Locked On is active. Recovery Amplification increases the amount of willpower recovered and duration of Recovery Arrow by 10 seconds, and then the third perk is once again random. Next we have the Elite Hives. The Melee will be Tempered Blade, dropping with Might and Proficiency. You'll get the perks Hunter's Haste, 20% increase in firing speed of Razor Arrows and the aiming time of Deadeye. You'll get a variable effect on your Melee for status damage, and the third perk will be random. Ranged Broadhead Arrows will be Precision and Proficiency. You'll get Perfect Eye, quickly land 3 headshots in a row using Perfect Draw in order to activate Eagle Eye for 6 seconds. While active, make every ranged attack a critical hit. You'll get a variable effect for ranged attacks to deal status damage, as well as a third perk that will be random. For the defense gear, you'll get Combat Weave. It'll drop with Intensity, Resilience, and Resolve. You'll get the perks Perfect Pick, which will increase the window of time needed to land a perfect draw by 20%. Archer's Guard, reduce the reaction of enemy attacks and gain minus 22.5% damage reduction while aiming. And then the third perk is also random. And then finally we have the Heroic Gear, which is Tempered Combat Bow. It'll drop with Proficiency and Might, giving you the perks Deadeye Multiplier, increases the maximum targeting tier for Deadeye by 1. Rampant Nightstorm grants an extra Nightstorm arrow charge, and once again, third perk is random. Next up is the Elite Heroic Hive, or the 14th floor Hive. Your melee is going to be Eagle's Talon, which will drop once again with Might and Proficiency. You'll get Archer's Cunning, status damage type from melee gear is applied to intrinsic attacks. A variable effect for status damage on melee attack. And your final perk will be 15% increased Archer's Instinct Energy, which is essentially your intrinsic energy. Ranged will be Eagle Arrowhead. You'll get Hunter's Talent, 20% increase in firing speed of cluster arrows and the charging speed of tripwire. You'll get status damage on a ranged attack, and you'll also get increased damage, stun, and status amounts by 20% when using cluster arrows. Defense armor will be Eagle's Armor. It'll drop with Intensity, Resilience, and Resolve. You'll get Recovery Invigorator, increases the amount of willpower recovered with Recovery Arrow and Nanite Shield damage reduction by 20%. Untouchable Shield grants Nanite Shield for a brief duration after defeating enemies with Boomerang Arrow, Swordsman Prodigy, or when dodging an attack. And you'll get Archer's Instinct Surplus, 15% increase in maximum Archer's Instinct energy. Finally, your Heroic Gear will be Eagle's Kit. Proficiency and Might will drop on it with the perks Hunter Overcharge. Activating Hunter's Arrow instantly boosts the overcharge meter. Locked On is triggered when fully overcharged. Grants an extra Nightstorm arrow charge for the second perk. And the third perk is increases the number of targets Hunter's Arrow can hit by 3. I do want to make it known that these are essentially upgrades of the previous legendaries, but these are exotics, as well as the Mega Hive that we're about to go over is exotic as well. And last but definitely not least, we have the Mega Hive. For the Mega Hive melee, you will get Operative Sword, which will drop with Might and Proficiency. You'll get 2 variable effects for melee attacks for status damage, and then you'll get increases damage, stun, and status amounts by 15% while Locked On is active. For the ranged, you'll get Operative Arrowhead, which will drop with Proficiency and Precision. You'll get the same thing, 2 variable effects, but for ranged attack this time on status effect. And then the third perk will be increases damage, stun, and status amounts by 20% when using one of the 3 main arrow types. So essentially, if you're using your Razor Arrows, Cluster Arrows, or Pulsar Arrows, you'll get that bonus. The defense gear will be Operative's Armor. It'll drop with Intensity, Resilience, and Resolve. You'll get the perks Locked On Resistance, 10% damage reduction while Locked On is active. You'll also get chance to automatically activate Nanite Shield when taking damage, completely negating the attack, as well as increases the projectiles fired by Split Shot Arrow and Splintering Fire by 2. That is the best perk in the game for Hawkeye right now. I'm just saying it right now. Finally, for the Heroic, you'll get Operative's Kit. It'll drop with Proficiency and Might. You'll get the perks Locked On Breaker, 20% increase in damage and impact while Locked On is active. You'll also get increases the amount of willpower recovered and duration of recovery arrow by 10 seconds, and finally a 15% increase in willpower and heroic energy while locked on is active. And that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and comment to let me know what you thought of it. I also have plenty more videos and guides on the way, so don't forget to subscribe for more Avengers content. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, everyone.